And we are live.
Good morning, everyone. It's V, the Guerrilla Economist, coming to you live with my main man, El Cuco, aka CJ. And we're giving you the news, the views, and all the information important to you. Check us out, roguemoney.net. Rogue Money on Twitter, Facebook, and every single podcasting app known to humanity. And folks, check out our sponsors, remaincom.net. Remaincom.net, whether you need to get your credit score fixed or you need some help because collectors are coming after you. Check them out, remaincom.net, or you just need a loan. Remaincom.net will get you the loan that you need. And also, folks, check out thecryptoschool.io. Thecryptoschool.io. We have launched our trading plan. Our trading room. So if you want to learn how to trade cryptos, you want to get involved in the trading room, now is the time to go ahead and do it. Go to thecryptoschool.io. And excuse me, folks, it is Monday morning. I'm still trying to get into my day. I'm still trying to get into
right. I'm right there with you, man. I'm right there with you.
So all that out of the way, man. What's going on? What's crack-a-lacking, brother?
Hey, I had a good weekend. Hopefully you did as well, V.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I had a very good weekend, man. I wish I had more sleep, but it is what it is. You know?
Yeah, I took the wife for Valentine's dinner, so we went out and celebrated Valentine's dinner, over the weekend to get out of the way, and it was packed full, and then we went early enough. I sold her on the idea that we had to go early enough, and I kind of had hidden agenda. It was so I could make it back to the UFC fights.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, you just told me about UFC 221, the Romero Rockhold fight. I just saw the knockout by Yoel Romero on Luke Rockhold. Romero just sent him into orbit, man.
Yeah, Yoel's scary, dude. I mean,
you want to talk about is scary.
Yeah, he's one dude that you don't want to be walking down a dark alley, and then he looks at you and it's not happy at you. It's just one of those. It would not be good.
He's a good guy. He's a sweetheart of a guy. I mean, he's a Christian dude. He calls himself the soldier of God. You know, it's funny. Like before, I remember that whole beef with him and Michael Bisping, and he's Michael Bisping. I love you, Bisping. Yoel's Cuban. That's my Yoel Romero impersonation. I would knock you out. I love you, Bisping. Don't forget Jesus.
Sounds just like him, dude.
Michael Bisping. That's Yoel Romero, but oh my god, what a specimen! That dude is unbelievable.
Yeah, he's a freak of nature. He's a freak of nature,
dude. I mean, that hit on Rockhold. My god, he starched him like right before he even hit the mat. He was gone, and that additional punch right before his head even went down, that was it, man. Lights out.
Yeah,
lights out. Definitely. You know, so I'm looking forward to. He's gonna be fighting Whitaker next.
Robert Whitaker, yeah, so that'll be for the belt, and I imagine maybe this summer, that they'll be fighting in Vegas for that one.
Yeah, I want to see that. That's a fight I'd like to see. Definitely like to see that. I want to see the Rose I can't even say it a lot. Namajunas fight with Joanna Jędrzejczyk, the rematch.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be brutal. That's gonna be great. Yes.
And what's the main title fight on that card? I mean, there's somebody else. Who else is fighting?
I can't remember if that's the card that they
Stipe and Cormier, right?
Oh, you're right. I think yes, you're right. They had to call that.
Yes. Fight I want to see, man. I want to see that. I want to see Stipe fight Brock Lesnar.
That would be fun. That'd be a lot of fun.
That's a money fight right there.
Boom. Absolutely.
I would like to see that, man. That'd be a good fight, brother. Without a doubt. Anyway, Siege. We're talking about fights, talking about, battling. And everybody out here is trying to battle against the market, trying to battle against the powers that be. We got more FUD. We got more fear coming out. You got Goldman Sachs saying, don't buy the dip. BT, and my answer is BTFD, buy the friggin' dip, and don't buy the BTFF, which is don't buy the friggin' fear. It's a pretty interesting article here, see. This is from our boys over at Zero Hedge. Earlier today, we're delighted to report after the biggest volatile. This is Goldman's shocking capitulation. The buy the dip era is dead. This is a genuine regime change. Like What the hell does they mean by that, right? All right. Let's get into this. Let's break this down. All right. It turns out that Ray Dalio wasn't the only fund to urge its broader client universe and anyone else who cared to listen to do one thing, while telling a select group of clients to do the opposite. Okay. As we noted on Saturday in his latest weekly Kickcast published on Friday, Goldman's chief equity strategist, David Costin, essentially told clients to buy the freaking dip, suggesting that the correction was likely almost over based on historical patterns. Meanwhile, on the very same Friday, Brian Levine, co-head of global equity trading at Goldman Sachs, sent out an email to the investment bank's bigger clients in which he made a stunning prediction. Quote, the buy the dip regime is now over. In the email, first reported by the Financial Times, Levine writes that historically shocks of this magnitude find their thoughts in panicking selling. And yet I've been almost amazed at how little capitulation selling we've seen on the desk. The buy the dip mentality needs to be thoroughly punished before we find the bottom. And more shockingly, the person in charge of the most important trading desk also said that the longer term, I do believe, is a genuine regime change, one where you will sell the rallies rather than buy the dips. Brian Levine's full shocking letter, he lays it out. Now, this guy Levine is out there telling his investment clients, don't buy the dip. Well, I told you, there's an entry point for this market, okay? And we're going to see the market open in about 20 minutes or so. And there's an entry point. And that entry point for this market, because I told you guys, you got stragglers, you got people in the bond market that are holding bonds that want to get out, that want to get the heck out of the market. You can't get the heck out of the market. And honestly speaking, the Dow, closed out on February 9th, which was Friday, at 24,190. I predict we're going to see probably 20,000, maybe anywhere between 20 and 22 possibly on the Dow before we start seeing the rocket up. So they're telling their inside clients, hey, don't buy the dip. In other words, they're going to short the hell out of it. They're going to short the hell out of this market. They're going to make their money on the way down, and then they're going to make their money on the way up. Okay? So that's what's going on over here. And they're telling the other guys, saying, buy the dip. So these guys are buying dips, thinking there's going to be a rally turnaround. They're losing their money. Okay? So it's going to be more, again, this is a wealth extraction scheme. It's a wealth extraction strategy. Okay, this is the powerful and the wealthy ravaging and sucking the blood from those that are not. That's what this whole thing is. Why? Because they're getting ready for a major run-up. I expect anywhere the market close maybe around, I could see a closeout today maybe around 23,200 to 23,500 is what I'm looking at. They're going to get, we're going to see a down trend on this. A little bit lower into the 20s. That's what I predict. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. My word is not gospel. So that's what I'm predicting, CJ. And again, because the strategy is you got to get people out of bonds, and they're going to be moving into equities, man. We're going to see a massive equity rally. We're going to see them rallying commodities. We're going to see a rally in cryptos, the likes of which we've never seen, brother. But that's my take on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be an interesting time indeed. I mean, there's just, either geopolitically, and then obviously with the, situation with Trump and the going after the deep state. I think the market downward trend was specifically a message to him that the money controllers are kind of letting him know that that they still have power, right? They're like, hey, we're still here. We have the wealth. Here's what's going on. So we'll have to just, continue to monitor it. and then obviously, watch where this goes. But yeah, it's going to be interesting next couple of weeks, and we'll see where the market goes. I mean, there's no doubt about it that, I mean, there's a lot of stake here in this game that's being played right now, and especially behind the scenes with Trump and potentially going after some of the controllers, some of the manipulators, the families that are involved that have a huge stake in the market. So it's exciting indeed.
Siege, a couple of weeks ago on a Gorilla Insight broadcast, if people haven't heard, I don't know if it was episode 1 or 2 or something like that. It was a few weeks ago. I talked about, from my sources in Hong Kong, my sources in China have spoken to me and said they're going to be launching the China Yuan gold futures contract for oil, right? The oil futures contract, right? Yuan, Petro Yuan. They're going to be launching that mid to late March. That's the word I got weeks ahead before anybody else even had a peep. Now it's reported by oilprice.com. Go ahead, man. What's the latest headline?
Yeah, so this isn't conspiracy theory anymore. There's multiple reputable news outlets that are reporting this, that in fact that here we go, we have a move that could unpin the actual pricing and trading one of the world's most actively traded commodities. Yep. China plans to finally launch its long-awaited and delayed yuan-denominated oil futures contract on March 26th. So this is coming from oilprice.com. Reuters has reported this as well. Very interesting time, V. You nailed the timing on this. Wow, game changer here.
Huge. The paradigm is shifting. The paradigm is changing, and it's happening fast. Either you're gonna go along with it, you're gonna learn from this, you're gonna take advantage of this, you're gonna leverage from this, or you're just gonna be caught on the wayside. You're gonna be fearful, eating FUD all day. It's time to get out of the basements, folks. Put down that can of cat food and come forth. It's time to make money. The Empire of Chaos, CJ. The Empire of Chaos. U.S. sends thousands of extra Marines to East Asia to counter China. Like, what the hell is going on here, man?
So it's going to be interesting to see how they react, how the United States reacts to the potential. And when we see articles like this, U.S. to send thousands of extra Marines to East Asia to counter China, we hear that in a lot of unfortunately, some of the strategizing that China's this enemy, and they are out there to destroy the United States. And in part, I think it's because of the dollar dominance. It's because the fact that I think that the controllers will do everything in their power to try to disrupt China, disrupt the Petro Yuan, the One Belt, One Road initiative. So now we have reports breaking that the Pentagon plans a major muscle movement from the Middle East to East China with thousands of extra Marines to be deployed. The goal is to persuade Pacific nations to stand with the United States and not China. According to the Wall Street Journal report, the U.S. plans to boost its military presence in the East Pacific with rotating deployment of Marine expeditionary units. Expeditionary units of MEUs, and MEU is a group of about 2,200 Marines who operate from amphibious assault ships and have their own aircraft, tanks, yada, yada, yada. The report, citing military officials, does not say how many MEUs will be sent to the region. The U.S. already has about 50,000 service members in Japan, almost 30,000 in South Korea, and 7,000 in Guam. So this will be the strategizing, I think, that we will see as they try to disrupt, as we get reports that the Yuan, the oil-backed contracts are coming out in March. I think this will be the strategy going forward. So we just have to play out. As V, it was very interesting to watch the U.S. Olympics. The Seoul Olympics kickoff, and to see Mike Pence literally 3 or 4 feet from North Korea, I believe. Is it Kim Jong-un's sister? Yes, I believe. Yeah, his sister, and like literally he couldn't even turn to acknowledge, to shake hands, to eat anything. I don't know whether he was afraid that maybe she had some type of chemical agent on her hand or something. But unfortunately, this is the reality. This is the world that we're waking up to, and it's very dangerous. I've listened to other alternative news outlets that are kind of painting this same picture. that China's a huge enemy. They're out to do this, and
so stupid.
We kind of have to counter this, and again, it's going to be that action to try to continuously disrupt from the massive shift that's occurring. V.
And you see, every single alt media guy who says those types of things doesn't understand that as soon as you say those things, your views and your outlook all of a sudden aligns perfectly with the military-industrial complex. Okay, do you? I mean, China has no military expansion. Okay, where are they expanding to? Okay, where? Oh, the South China Sea. Those islands territorially and historically have been theirs since 600 AD. Okay, since 634 AD. Now, when Vietnam is out there, which has about 39 islands, the Philippines has 15 or 20 islands, and Malaysia has 15 or 20 islands. China goes out and gets about 6 islands, which historically has been in their fishing routes in the South China Sea, in order to secure the Strait of Malacca, which is where the majority of their energy imports were coming from before the Silk Road was created. Okay, so they've done this to help bolster the Strait of Malacca, and all of a sudden it's, oh my God, it's a militaristic. Let's put it this way: China takes about 6 to 8 islands, which historically has been in their fishing areas since 630 or 640 AD. Then they put a military base in Djibouti, Japan, upon invitation by the Djibouti government because of the infrastructure deals that China's doing over there. They have a little naval base. That is enough. 6 to 8 tiny islands and a little naval base in Djibouti. And that is enough for the U.S. military incompetent complex to get their panties in a bunch. Compare that to the 900 bases that the U.S. has in 139 some odd countries. You see, these idiots, this is, again, an obsolete foolishness. They are sending troops. They're not sending business. We're not sending in. Do you see the pattern here, folks? China sends investments, business opportunities, trade, goods, raw materials, resources with the countries that are neighboring it. That's why its neighbors love China. How do we do it, CJ? What do we send? We send in the Marines.
Yep.
And then we tell them, you could stand with us and not China. We want to, quote unquote, persuade Pacific nations to stand. All you're doing, you dumb frigging idiots. It's you are persuading the Pacific nations to not stand with you. You're ushering them into the hands of China. Nobody wants to see them. A militaristic country is always a country that is economically and morally bankrupt. A militaristic country that its only way that it exists is through the use of force within and without its empire. The only way that it exists is forcing by the use of force, imposing on its own citizenry and forcing its own will upon the rest of the world. That is what a failing militaristic empire does, because they have no other export. You see, China shows up with investment deals, mutually beneficial trade deals, resources, services, goods, development programs, help people get them out of poverty. We show up with the Marines, and the only exports we have are trash, recyclables, and pornography. And what do the emerging markets of the Asia Pacific want? They want modernization, not westernization. What do they think? A whole bunch of white guys and black guys and a few other mixed races in between in U.S. uniforms coming into their land that don't speak their cult language. They don't understand their culture. And they're coming in to show, oh, George, stand with us. Why? We're the greatest country in the world. No, you're not. We're the biggest economy in the world. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're 50% of your GDP is reshuffled debt. Every single Asian power knows that. Every single country in Asia knows the U.S. is bullshit. It's bullshit. The Middle East now knows the U.S. is bullshit. Iran knows the U.S. is bullshit. They have no trade deals. There's nothing. There's nothing of any sort of metric value whatsoever. Nothing. So the Asian nations look at this and say, wait a minute, I could either be part of the new Silk Road. I could use my currency. I could settle in gold. I could have a gold trade settlement. I could convert it quickly to via Yuan swap. I can have all the benefits. I could have all the benefits. I could have newer high-speed trail. CJ, how many thousands of miles of high-speed rail has China put down? I mean, we're talking about tens of thousands of miles of high-speed rail, right? I mean, China goes to countries, bro, and they build bullet trains, right?
Right.
How many Amtrak derailments do we have with trains going like 80 miles an hour?
Several in the past week alone, right? Yeah.
Exactly. So what the hell are we bringing to these people? What are we bringing? See, it's a problem. Okay, this is the equivalent, guys, of a grand party, like this formal. Can you picture this? It's like a formal party going on, and all the people of the world are dressed to the nines. They have their tuxedos, their evening gowns. There's the most beautiful spread of food and all sorts of delicious victuals just put out before you, right? Just absolutely amazing food. Just like music is playing. And everybody comes and they bring, gifts to this. They're all bringing something to this gala, right? They're bringing something to this event. All of a sudden, the U.S. shows up, and it's not wearing the best tuxedo. It's kind of looking ratty, looking like the tie's all undone. One of the shirts are untucked. It looks really disheveled, and the music in the party stops, and everybody looks at the U.S. and they're walking in. They're completely disheveled. And instead of the Dom Perignon 76 that's being poured out, okay, for the those who are partaking in this banquet, the U.S. has its own bottle of cheap 40-ounce malt liquor in a brown bag. Yeah. Then on top of that, instead of presentation, what does the U.S. do? Instead of bringing a gift, something that is beautiful, something that is, created with great craftsmanship or anything like that, something that's, mutually beneficial for everybody. You know what the U.S. does? It drops its pants and pulls out its genitals. This is what I got. And starts swinging its little penis. That is who we are on the world stage. We are the drunk that shows up dirty and disheveled to the party and could do nothing but drop his pants and show the world how big our penises are. It's quite small. It's quite small. That's who we are. We are a joke. Do you understand that, folks? They're doing this. The goal is to persuade the Pacific nations to stand with the U.S. Do you see how joking that is? Do you see how stupid that is? When you look at history, you understand that certain nations, smaller nations, tend to gravitate towards the stronger, larger regional power. That's the way human culture is, and that is what we're seeing in the multipolar world. Okay? You're not going to see that no longer. It used to be in the unipolar world, you have one power projected globally. Okay? And that lasted maybe 20 years, which after the collapse of the Soviet Union, maybe 20 years. And then the whole world realized that the emperor has no clothes. That's the problem. Oh my God, China's expanding its military. China has to expand its military because it doesn't trust you. because you're irrational. You have broken every single agreement. You've broken every single agreement going back to the Native Americans. What agreement has the United States? What agreement? You can't even keep an agreement. You're the most aggressive military the world's ever seen. The most insane, schizophrenic foreign policy. Of course, they're going to do what they can to make sure that the Strait of Malacca, one of the only routes that they have in order to supply energy for themselves, is going to stay open no matter what. Of course, they have 1,500. They can develop up to 1,500 Dongfeng DF-21 carrier killer missiles and send the entire U.S. Navy Pacific Fleet right to the bottom. Right to the bottom. And again, CJ, the Navy railgun that they spent hundreds of billions on, and they spent the last 20 years trying to develop. China developed the railgun and put it on a boat in less than like 2 years.
Yeah, right. Yep.
They're quote unquote, this is a marketing term, 5th generation, because that's the marketing BS that they use in the military incompetent complex. China just put out their new 5th generation fighter jet, the new stealth jet, the J-21, which is again a long-range maritime fighter jet. It's going into rapid production. They already have satellite killing weapons. They already have energy weapons. Like, what? Do you understand that they already have energy weapons? They have it. They already have the fastest supercomputers. They have it. They have more fieldable high-tech equipment than we do. Fieldable. And they cut better deals. And what do? Instead of cutting a better deal, instead of coming up to them and offering Pacific nations an economic alternative, offering the nations of the East an economic alternative, because, hey, you know what? We got the better deal. We got lower taxes. We got the best businessmen. We got the best programmers. We got the best engineers. We got the best scientists. All of which used to be true, by the way. All of which used to be true. Rather than offering an economic deal, we send in the Marines. From the halls of Montezuma to Tripoli. I mean, come on, man. Like, what has happened to us? This is why Washington, D.C., folks, your leaders have failed you. Your leaders have failed you, and they will put you in the grave unless you put them in the grave. They will put you in the grave unless you get rid of them. They will ruin your life. They will ruin your children's life. They will ruin your nation. They will rob you. They will rape you. They will pillage you. They will take away everything that you have ever worked for, because you're too busy looking at Monday Night Football. This is a problem. This is a huge, huge issue. This is a massive issue. We cannot operate this way. This ain't the 80s. Hello. The 1980s have called. The 1980s is called, Siege, and they want the foreign policy back, bro.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Very valid points, V. I mean, unfortunately, when you look at the track record of things that occurred, what are you going to point to as far as a record of success? Iraq, Afghanistan, the numerous sanctions that we have on countries around the globe. I mean, and unfortunately, when you look at, the South Korea, the Philippines, these nations, unfortunately, they're not buying into it. They're actually leaning a lot more towards China. And unfortunately, we're sticking to that old war doctrine to keep the powers in check, the influence. But unfortunately, we can't go to war against everyone, V.
No,
that's what they would want.
And you know what nations are doing? Small nations are doing this. They're buying S-300, S-400 surface-to-air missile systems from Russia because they don't want what? U.S. intervention on their soil. Then on top of that, like we had recently, the U.S. military incompetent complex had their panties in a bunch when recently Myanmar, the little Asian nation called Myanmar, rather than buying American warplanes, they bought Sukhoi Su-30 aircraft, Su-30 MKs. And if you know anything about the Su-30 MK, the older Su-30 MKI that India had in their Cope India 2008 exercises, where the Su-30 MKI went in air combat against the American Air Force, and the Air Force was fielding F-15Cs, F-15Es, F-16 D and E blocks. Okay, so the Fighting Falcons and the F-15 Eagles, right? And the Indian Air Force cleaned their clock with an 8-to-1 kill ratio. Wasn't publicized anywhere. Did you guys know that? Oh, we have a big difference. 8-to-1. That means for every Indian aircraft that they shot down, the Indians took out 8 American aircraft in return. They have a far better Air Force than we do. Okay?
Wow.
All right? 8-to-1. That's a massacre. That's like clubbing a baby seal. Okay? Then on top of that, recently in red flag exercises last year, I remember they had red flag over Alaska, and what happened? We had the vaunted F-22, and I love the F-22. I think they should make more of that and continue to upgrade the F-22 into the stupid piece of shit F-35. See, but the F-35 is the better bridge to nowhere. The F-35 was designed to do exactly what it's designed to do: extract money from the taxpayer, rob you, rape you, pillage you. That's what it's designed to. Okay, it's not designed to win wars. So anyway, they have the F-22, which is the best airplane we have, far superior to the F-35. And they had German Eurofighter Typhoons. Okay, the EF-2000, the Eurofighters. Okay, they're German Eurofighters. And the Eurofighters got into the draw with the F-22s. Okay, and when they got into the draw, that means they were in dogfighting. The Eurofighters blew the F-22s out of the water. They shot them down. They had a couple of kills on them. Okay, and the Eurofighters, folks, let me tell you, you take a Eurofighter, you throw it against a Su-30, or even the newer Su-33 that has the canards. Look it up, Su-33 MKI. That's the newer version, Su-33 MKI. It's a beautiful bird. Beautiful bird. If you take a Eurofighter, you throw it against a Su-33 MKI, the Su-33 MKI will clean its clock. So do you see the we don't have the best and the brightest, because we told the best and the brightest that this is the proper way to put a condom on a cucumber. We're telling the best and the brightest that there's 58 or 78 genders. We're telling the best and the brightest that gender is just a social identity. It's just a social construct. And we're virtue signaling ourselves to death, creating nothing in return. And then we want to go and go to the world and impose our will upon the world. It's the most stupidest thing. And you see these idiots do it all over again, man. And recently, and I'm saying this, somebody please arrest Bibi Netanyahu before he does something stupid. Please arrest him. Go ahead, Steve, break this article down.
Yeah, well, we over the weekend, we heard the news come out regarding the F-16 that was shot down. The Israeli F-16 that was shot down, apparently because they were over there, striking different, in Syria in particular. But then they came out and they said, well, you know what? There was a Syrian drone that was flying over Israeli territory, so therefore we need to strike out in Syria. So over the weekend, Israel warns over Iran's presence in Syria after these airstrikes. So things truly heated up this weekend. Israel issued stark warning on Sunday over Iran's presence in neighboring Syria after a confrontation threatened to open up a new and unpredictable period of the country's 7-year civil war. Israel carried out major air raids in Syria on Saturday, including what it described as Iranian targets, the first time it had publicly acknowledged doing so since the war began. Quote unquote, we inflicted on Saturday a heavy blow to Iranian and Syrian forces, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said at the start of Sunday's cabinet meeting. Go ahead, V.
Here's the thing, right? Look at the way the entire article is written. Okay, the brain dead man, Arrested Development, childlike brained American who doesn't know shit from Shinola when it comes to international world affairs or foreign policy. They're like, oh my God, yeah, good on Israel. Good on Israel for striking those. Oh my God, what the hell is Iran doing in Syria? Why are they there? Why are they there? Syria was in trouble. Syria was being flooded by U.S. deep state-backed rebels that went under the name of ISIS, which you could just rename them USIS. And Syria invited the Iranians to be there. So the Iranians are in Syria legally. They were there by the invitation by the government of Syria, invited the Iranians, invited the Russians to be there. They didn't invite Israel to be there. So what the hell is Israel doing there? Look at Netanyahu, who is right now caught in one of the biggest scandals, who should be arrested and thrown in jail or stripped of his prime ministership. See, this asshole understands how to manipulate a crowd. He knows that the way you get these paranoid people in Israel, fomenting at the mouth, is to drum up the war card. This is the last thing that Israel needs for its own future generations. It doesn't need a war. This is why I'm urging the talented younger generation that's in Israel, some of the smartest ones, innovate in business, win the region economically. Win the region economically and you'll have peace. Build a strong defense force. Get rid of your neocons. Get rid of your Zionists. Get rid of the religious stupidity that's governing that place. It's unbelievable. If they don't, they're going to have a serious problem. Problems like Netanyahu. Listen to what he says. We inflicted on Saturday a heavy blow to Iranian and Syrian forces. Why? When on record you're caught supporting al-Nusra. On record, the Israeli Air Force on record has been caught several times providing air cover for al-Nusra. We made it clear to everyone that our rules of engagement will not change in any way. What is your rules of engagement? That you can cross willy-nilly into anybody's border? And this whole entire thing, we saw a Syrian drone. Most likely, 9 out of 10 times, it was probably your own drone that you've shot down, that you use as a pretext in order for you to do your dirty work in Syria. But it's okay, though. It's okay, Bibi Netanyahu. It's okay. Your day's coming. You're not going to last long. The new paradigm is it's a new world. It's the new multipolar world. And I'm thankful that the young and talented ones, the ones that are captains of industry, the ones that understand the way Israel survives is to have a strong defense force, of course, but the ultimate win is the win economically. Look, Arabs will not allow a Jewish state to exist in the Middle East. They just won't allow it. It just rubs them the wrong way. But it is what it is. We all know how it got there, the whole 9 yards. But this is why I said economics is the most powerful driver of human development. Why do you think economics is so controlled? Because it brings people together. It shatters barriers. It bridges differences. If you are a Jew and you're doing business with an Arab, and you guys have a great business partnership, you guys have a great business dealings, your Arab friend is going to make sure that you stay alive and nothing happens to you. Your Jewish friend is going to make sure that Arab stays alive and nothing happens to him. Economic bridges the gap, and that's how countries in the Middle East succeed. But the powers that be don't want that. They want to keep everything divided. They want to keep everything divide and conquer. They want to keep everything regulated. Everything's regulated. Everything's regulated to death. Everything's taxed to death. They're not allowing free market capitalism to rule and reign. They're not allowing those and rewarding those who are out-the-box thinkers, but instead we have a controlled capricious global economic system with winners and losers. And it doesn't matter what veneer you put on it, socialism, capitalism, whatever ism you want to put on it. Folks, we don't have pure capitalism in this country at all. At all. And the powers that be know that. That's how we win. That's how the world wins. That's how you get people out of poverty. That's how you do it.
Well said, V. Well said. Well, let's talk a little bit around cryptos and Bitcoin. You know that it looks like over the weekend, it looks like J.P. Morgan released almost like a white paper on cryptos to the investors. But we also have news coming out that Arizona now passes a bill to allow tax payments to be made in cryptos. V. So this is huge. Yeah. Huge. So the Arizona Senate passed a bill on February 8th to allow residents in the state to pay their taxes with cryptocurrency. Public records indicate the Senate bill, which intends to enable cryptocurrencies for tax payment, was introduced January of 2018 and passed by the Senate committee on a 43 vote here recently. So, yeah, so this just shows you the adoption rate that is occurring across, the different platforms with the cryptocurrency. So this is pretty big move, a state to recognize and allow cryptos as a different means of exchange. V.
I love it, man. It's a great move. It's a great move, and it just goes to show for everybody that cryptos are here to stay, and the adoption rate is massive. And with that being said, folks, I think that takes care of everything, right, CJ?
Yeah. Real quick, just a couple of updates, V. London Paul unfortunately can't do a show today. Just please make sure to keep London Paul and his family in your thoughts and prayers. Hopefully you saw the email chains going back and forth, V, but with the events over the weekend in Syria, I did invite W to come on. Okay. So W is scheduled at 11 a.m. Okay. So if we need to move it around, we can. But so for our fans, our listeners, stay tuned. It's just so complex right now, with Syria, everything that's going on. And I thought it'd be a great time to bring W on and share his thoughts, V.
Perfect. Absolutely. And with that being said, folks, we are over and out. Take it away, CJ.